You are watching CIO TV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the show. In this conversation of CIO interviews, we are today talking to Mr. Manoj Madhavan. He is the CIO of Blue Dart, and he has been heading the digital transformation initiatives in the company. Blue Dart, as we know, is a leading logistics global provider, and the industry itself is the lifeblood of any economy. Connecting suppliers and manufacturers and the consumers. And digital has played a crucial role in enabling and supporting operations and helping the logistic industry achieve efficiencies and enhanced customer support. So without much ado, let's get speaking to Mr. Madhavan and understand his perspectives in terms of how the company has been leveraging digital and, get his perspectives on some of the generic trends in the industry. So welcome to the show, Mr. Manoj. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I am looking forward to speaking with you and getting to know your insights into some of these things.
Thank you, Bhargav, for having me on this show. And like you said, let's hope we have a extremely interesting conversation.
Yes,
it's always great to talk to people who have these perspective after meeting a lot of CIOs across different industries. And it also helps us kind of understand and benchmark ourselves after listening to experts. So really looking forward to having a great conversation here.
Okay, so let's start by setting a context to the industry. So in the backdrop of, the global disruptions, in a pandemic-induced global disruptions, what role has technology played in helping you, get your operations in streamline operations, and achieve profitability?
I think this was one of those times when even in those organizations tech was really not at the forefront. It did kind of catapult into the forefront to make sure that people can work. Organizations can continue their businesses. So starting with what we call as work from home, which is now a very common terminology, but was previously only known to a lot of tech consulting organizations. Right? Setting it up was one of those first challenges which most of the organizations did face. From our side, we had kind of anticipated some part of it. And so we were kind of ready with the requisite number of equipments, all kind of security setup done so that in case something like this really stuck and we would have some kind of, lockdowns and things, then people can still continue working. So we really didn't have that kind of an impact in terms of people being able to, being connected to the business systems, etc. But I think what one needs to also understand is we were one of those first organizations with feet and street on the ground before anybody else.
I see.
Everyone else was still, trying to grapple with the situation, whereas our ops teams were out there on the streets working extremely closely with the cops and the police force, any support from government organizations, etc. The management was in continuous talks with the government to make sure that, first, at least the essential goods start moving out, because I think the first 10 odd days, everything had really come to a standstill. So we were one of those ones who could just get down and make it work. We enabled some of this. I still remember those days when, we would put all those essential goods stickers even before that was kind of announced by the rest of the world, or to the rest of the world. We would put that, we would have a big Blue Dart sticker out there. We would talk to the cops. We had those letters and we were out there doing work. And obviously, like you said, since it was all still connected back to the core systems, we really knew what was going out and happening out there on the field. So track and trace actually helped much more than what it did in the normal days of business, because we really knew where our people were, whether the goods are safe, not safe, whether it is reaching the consignees, etc.
So what sort of supporting technologies did you have? Were you already on the cloud, or did you, start migrating some of the workloads at that point?
No, it was based on some of the kind of applications in the particular landscape that we have as to what would be on-prem, what would be on cloud.
I see.
So whatever kind of applications currently we have been doing this for about 8 to 10 years now, where all our mobile apps are cloud-based.
I see.
And also the fact that the scale up and scale down based on seasons is
Easier.
about 60%. So it makes a lot of sense to have those kind of systems on the cloud, unlike your ERPs where you have built in those nuances into your designs.
Right.
So those kind of systems are always on the cloud.
Yes.
And as we came out of that pandemic, we also started looking at what else can be done to our core systems to ensure that we have that kind of an agility, because so that we can quickly step on and move ahead in case of any other eventualities.
Correct.
So what we also did was we started picking up our ERPs and our core other systems and started working on changing their whole design.
Right.
We then migrated all of those applications into microservices-based cloud-ready designs.
Yes.
We currently have it still in our data centers, but it is cloud-ready. Anytime we want to move into the cloud, it's a matter of few hours and we can run the whole show from the cloud. So that's how we are today placed.
Right. So right now you are hosting it in a private cloud setup, and you are ready to migrate to a cloud, a public cloud, as in when.
So it's like both ways. There are some applications which are running on the cloud already.
Okay.
There are those core applications which require a whole lot of monitoring at our levels, which we still run on-prem. But like I said, cloud ready. Any point of time the organization decides to take a call to move all this to cloud, it's just a matter of moving the applications. We don't have to do any kind of design change, etc.
Right. And just from my perspective, I wanted to understand, I mean, you are saying it's cloud ready and these workloads might go to the cloud at some point. But what about for a company like you, an organization and the business that you are in? Do you think the data center, the corporate data center will become irrelevant, or you think it's still going to have its relevance despite, the adoption in the public cloud?
I think it will always be a mix. I don't foresee in the very near future where everything can be on cloud, because like you said, as an organization, we are part of DHL Group. We have our global data centers, which is like being on the cloud for the globe. All our key applications are hosted there, maintained from there. Like you said, it's a private cloud, but if you really look at from a design perspective, it's a cloud environment, right? Secondly, with all the data privacy rules and the GDPR rules, very soon we will see digital policy of India also coming out. We've got multiple versions of it in the draft modes, but it also is very closely resembling the kind of implications of data privacy which we have seen in the GDPR. So as an organization, it makes sense for us largely to see those kind of data points which could in any form result in any kind of risks if we host it outside. We continue to host it inside. We've got all our guardrails in place. There's a lot of internal policies which make sure that this data is protected, encrypted, masked, etc., so that it is safe. This is one of our commitments which we have to our customers, which we also see that it's part of a lot of contracts, especially with MNCs. We have audits which our customers conduct with us. We have our internal audits. We have external auditors, which we also, not just finance, but also from an IT and cybersecurity standpoint. So we keep a lookout on all of these elements. And that is why in some of these applications, it is imperative that well-controlled inside rather than giving outside and expecting to do these audits at regular intervals and then trying to see if it kind of satisfies your requirements in terms of security and privacy.
So that means in a business like yours, the corporate data center is never going to become totally irrelevant. It's always going to remain a key part of your IT assets.
Is like I said, in the near future, at least it will. If the way the things are, they change, we have more, secure ways of managing information, especially now with this change in the whole tech stack, which is
Yes.
coming and hitting you in every 6 months, and
Yes.
it's like game changer technology is hitting you in 6 months, but they all
Yes.
come with their own set of risks.
Yes.
And not every cloud service provider might be ready for that risk. I mean, I'm saying,
Yeah.
let's say if you're working with a Microsoft Azure or a Google, maybe yes, they are, but you also have a lot of service providers who create data centers for you,
Yes.
and they give you cloud environments which are public and private both.
Yeah.
Yes, the claim to fame is always that we are also secure, but then you always want to make sure that there are parts of it which are still largely in your
Right.
control.
Yeah.
And I think as long as that piece of the equation remains, the data center pieces can continue to
Yes,
be
yes.
there within the
Security and regulatory compliance is a major driver and a concern. So recently I've been working on, a survey of CIO priorities, and this really, infrastructure security and disaster recovery, business continuity, these appear by far to be the most significant concerns. So I assumed, innovation and digital is fine, but I think a major part of the CIO's preoccupation continues to be keeping the lights on.
Yes.
So
Keeping the lights on is one of those key elements. Like we say, it's like baseline operations for us.
Baseline, yes.
You continue to have digital and innovation to be one of the most important parameters, or you might want to call it pillars of the IT strategy, any organization. Cybersecurity, data privacy, etc., being yet another one. But yes, of course, whatever you build, whatever you deploy, there has to be a maintenance. It has to be up and running.
Yes.
So you have the priority of keeping the baseline operations running, and the fallout of that is making sure that there is a resilience available for the business to make sure that in case of any eventualities, the tech stack is up there and you can still continue to run your business.
Yes. Okay, now going forward, post-pandemic and having your things, what sort of digitalization have you embarked on, for innovation and organizational growth?
So we recently had a lot of interaction with some of our customers, some of our internal stakeholders in trying to understand the pain points. There is a lot of use cases you keep deploying out there in the market, within the organization, to try and digitize processes, automate a few things, make it paperless, release productive time for employees, etc., etc. So you have these pillars under which segments under which you kind of pick up use cases for digitalization. So we kind of brought together a whole lot of it. We have voice of customer, voice of shipper, voice of consignee, voice of employees, etc. And we had a few verticals which we created. We bundled together use cases which belong to customer experience, what belongs to operational efficiency, what belongs to revenue impact, etc. And then tried to understand in value terms what would be the impact of each of these verticals. One of the key things that we figured out is customer experience was one which was cutting across all of these, irrespective of whether the use case is directly related to a customer problem or not. So we picked up the customer use cases first. One was about how do you actually onboard a new customer? How smooth is the experience?
Right.
One is, we have our sales guys who are continuously interacting with these customers, making sure they understand what the services that we provide, what the value-added services that we have, what part of the country, around 55,000 locations in India we service, what we service directly, indirectly, etc., etc. And then kind of arrive at to understanding what is the ship to profile of the customer. This is all some discussions which actually happen face to face, but then there is a lot of documentation which is required before you actually end up signing the contracts and start the shipping. So what we did was we picked up all those elements of it and kind of digitized it. So which makes it smoother interaction. So maybe either the customer can themselves do it or they share it with our sales guys. The sales guys can do it, but it's kind of taken off from a whole bunch of papers to a paperless kind of an environment. So that is from an onboarding perspective. Then we also looked at any kinds of data exchange between the customers and us. A lot of it happens through APIs. How do I make the APIs very user friendly so that I really don't need large tech teams sitting across the table, discussions and things running across,
Right.
I don't know, weeks, months before you are able to integrate and move smooth. So we are using one of the APIG platforms, which is what we have now, to create a marketplace for these APIs.
I see.
Which means, Balaga, if you are a new customer, you can just go into our website, click a link, you get a full understanding of what APIs are available, which is the ones that you feel are relevant for your business, which you want to pick and choose. You can ask somebody from your team to just quickly, look at it, connect to our development environment, do that small kind of tweaks which are required in your system to be able to move the data. You can do all that, and within a 7 days, maximum 7 days for the most complicated APIs, you will be able to see how it works.
Yes.
And from then on, all it takes is, yes, you can just let us know, yes, Manoj, okay, we are ready, let's start. Then it's a matter of an hour or so, and then it's up and running.
Yeah.
What this also does for you is not just being able to move data across organizations in an encrypted and secure format, but also gives you access to a lot of information through dashboards. So one is you would have your own internal systems for MIS and analytics, etc.
Yeah.
But we also provide it to our customers. So it's just you once you are connected to us, you just come in, you log in, you can see all your reports, any kind of business that you have with Blue Dart, right from the KPIs, you know exactly which shipment of yours is where, how it is moving, etc., etc., etc. So it's like a real-time visibility of all the business that you do with us. So we had these platforms, but they were kind of disparate. We've kind of connected all of them, brought it down all into one common placeholder, and made it much more user-friendlier than before. So then it's pretty great for, especially for small and medium scale customers who really do not have these kind of tech stacks available for them. So we've kind of created it for them.
This is awesome listening to these experiences. So tell me, have you internally done some evaluation or understanding of what kind of value you have created in terms of these API integrations? And, obviously, when you've done so much of integration, you have access to a large amount of data. So what kind of analytics are you doing to, bring about changes in, or to deliver more customer value? Tell us some of your experiences.
So one of the things that we closely track is try and see how many of our customers are integrated through APIs on a regular basis. We have a team which is, there is an IT team which is working at regional levels. So they are kind of spread across the country. These are the ones who reach out to customers in case they need help in terms of integration or want to understand anything about our IT solutions, what we have offer. And that's part of their KPI to make sure more and more customers are integrated, more and more customers start using our applications, etc.
Okay.
There is a lot of offerings that go out from on the digital platforms through the website, through the portal. We make sure that these people go and engage with the customers, help them understand, onboard them onto this. And there's a very close monitoring which happens of how it is getting used, how many shipments more have you digitized as compared to what was there last month. How are you pushing your digital payments out there? Because in India, still in the retail space, you have about 45 to 50% of your shipments still going as cash on delivery.
Yes.
So how are you pushing this digital wallets to your consignees to make sure that they are giving you or making payments digitally and you really don't have to collect cash? Because your transaction right up to the end is very smooth. So we keep monitoring all of this. What we also do is try and understand, how more we can help some of these customers. So one of those things which came up was a digital prepaid card, especially for the smaller customers who can help us. So every time, you don't want to keep paying cash, you don't want to have these cash transactions going up and down. So, and then, you're getting stuck for credit, etc., etc. You can just load money. It's like a wallet, but we don't call it a wallet. It's a prepaid card. We have a third-party integration. So you load the wallet. Every time you do a shipment, you can connect through this and make the payments. So it is all smooth. So that is something which we introduce. A lot of shippers also did come back talking about, how do we enable quality check on the reverse logistics? Say, for example, if you look at the fashion industry, which
Yeah.
is largely a D2C. I mean,
Yes,
even
yes.
a B2C would be a different terminology for it. D2C is a much better terminology for fashion. You see a lot of returns in the
Yes.
fashion segment. You see a lot of returns in the electronics segment, especially mobiles, etc.
Yeah.
So we actually work with the shippers. We work with the third party which does the evaluation or valuation of some of these electronic items, etc. And of course, with the manufacturing or the brand owners at the other side. So it's like 3-4 parties coming together, and all the transaction happens digitally. So when you are returning, they can do a quality check, and then there are a basic set of checks which can happen at the doorstep. But this is very quick, very fast. It's kind of smooth, but you still have the confidence that you picked up the right stuff for return. So those kind of things. For mobile service, for the mobile guys, we have created a tech-based solution which will actually do an evaluation of your mobile. Both physical is done by the person, because it's about whether the screen is broken or etc. But there is also technical evaluation which is done. Again, it's an API integrated solution. There is a small app which gets downloaded on your mobile. It scans the mobile for all kinds of technical things in terms of whether the battery is okay, whether the systems are updated right, is there any software related issue, has it been hacked, etc., based on the checks that, let's say if it's Apple wants to do a few checks, then this is done on the iPhone.
So this is at the point of collection.
This is at the point of collection. If
So
you are the person who is doing the exchange, it's at your residence. So it tells you, based on this is the value of the phone, the exchange.
Right.
You get the new phone.
Yeah.
You get back the old phone, you complete the exchange, your transaction is done.
Just curious, like even at this point, do you have KPIs in ensuring the quality of the returned goods?
It is based on the quality checks which the shipper has asked us to do.
Yeah.
Because end of the day, the goods go back to the shipper, and they are the ones who have actually sent the forward. So they know exactly what has gone forward, what needs to be checked for the return piece to be picked up.
Right.
That's
it's
what
long tail.
It's, I mean, even you have the bigger brands which do it, but they know exactly what they want tested and checked, and it comes like a checklist on the delivery person's phone, so they don't have to remember everything. So if when they are coming to your doorstep, they know exactly what they are supposed to pick up. They know exactly what is the set of ticks which they have to do. And then based on those ticks, they will either pick it up or advise you, saying that, 3 things don't seem to tally. If you can check whether this is the right one,
I see.
Or you might want to connect back with the shipper to, get a little bit more clarification, and we can come back the second time and pick it up. So those kind of interactions happen at your doorstep.
Right. Okay. So tell us about the role of analytics and AI in your operations. How has that enabled you to streamline operations?
So one of the, I think we were one of those first ones to deploy a data lake, the Cloudera platform, which we had somewhere around 2018. Obviously, yes, logistics, we have huge amount of data. So data, we were not like short of data from an analytics perspective. We had huge amounts of data which we generate.
Exactly.
And we look at it again from different points of view. Like you said, one, operations. So when we look at operations, it's about all the KPIs, how the KPI is doing. One. Second is in terms of optimization. Is my network optimized enough? Can I optimize it more? Fundamentally looking at aspects in saying that, can I deliver faster?
Yes.
Especially with your roads infrastructure. I'm not talking about the rains. I'm talking other than the rains. Your road infrastructure has significantly improved. Your national highways have significantly improved, dropping down your transit times. Right. Second is about your capacity at these locations where you see an increasing volume trend. To understand, how do you plan the manpower? How are you going to give or extend value-added services to these locations? All these are understood through data. So we build models around it which help us understand. Some part of it is like continuous improvement. Typically, like forecasting and all these are looked at a very regular intervals to understand what change should I do on the ground to make sure that we are able to meet those specific KPIs.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, you will have revenue analytics. You start looking at, what value added service can you cross sell, upsell, etc., etc. How much market share currently you have, and what do you think that you can reach out of the total, size of the market? One from a customer perspective, and second from a product perspective. How are you pricing your services? Do you really need to go back and take a look at pricing? Do you really believe that this particular value added service is going to add value to this customer? Then you kind of look at selling it, or you might want to actually pull it back, saying that, you know what, you're really not making use of this service. That's also about educating your customer back, saying that you have this service, but you're not using it. So we look at it from those multiple elements. Second is also about, when we talk about predictive analytics, what we have in our system is part of a track and trace one, but the other part is about, it's like a digital twin, if you may call it. You have a control tower which kind of replicates what's happening on the ground. So you can log in and you can see what is happening across the country. You can drill down to a particular location, and you can actually see what is happening to the shipments there, whether it is reached on time, whether it is getting sorted, is the sorting through, has it been loaded, is it not, is there a delay? If there is a delay, there is an alert saying that, folks, in 60 minutes, you are supposed to take this out from the service center. It is 60 minutes, it is still showing me in the service center. So people can follow up to make sure, things are happening and moving on time. Based on the pickups, the person gets to know, or the supervisor at the last location gets to know what is going to hit him in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. So he or she knows that how many manpower is required to make sure those shipments which are hitting your location will get serviced on that particular day, within that particular time. So it goes down to that extent with all these alerts and systems and predictions to see that we make sure what we promise to the customer is delivered accordingly.
Right.
This also helps us create value-added services at times. Like like I said, the reverse piece, and nobody else was doing, but we started realizing that there is a whole lot of stuff which is happening in particular segments of products in terms of returns, and there is a lot of back and forth interaction happening between one customer and shipper, second customer and me and shipper, and then we realized that okay, let's try and build some solutions around here. It will just ease the whole process and smoothen the whole conflict. So that's how you also are able to identify areas where you can work and create these kind of services. And that's where we look at data from that perspective, not just like an MIS. MIS is existing in the organizations and businesses for eons together now.
So in the return piece, in addition to, the operational efficiency and service value that you bring in, has that enabled you to, bring about a little bit more revenue in terms of a different slab in the service delivered?
It does. I mean, this is returns going as a separate product line. Because the time spent at the doorstep is more as compared to your normal shipment delivery. And this also requires a lot of tech to be built.
True.
One, at our side, two, integration with shipper, integration with a third party. Let's say electronic items typically get picked up by a third party. So there has to be an integration with that. And also what happens is, with every kind of product, the integration changes. It's not like it's the same. The consignee or the delivery person doesn't see it. We see it behind the scenes because we build it. Say, for example, what I give you as quality checks for a mobile would be different from a laptop, from an iPad, and things like that.
It also need more educated people doing that kind of work.
They are more experienced folks. Yes. Typically, they are more experienced people. But what happens is you're able to get these kind of people more to metros, tier 1, tier 2. But as you hit the tier 3, tier 4, then it's the same set of people who have to do it. Also at locations which are further away from the cities, may not really be a very large service center of yours. So it's the same set of people who have to do it. So the kind of solutions that we build, we try and see that it it doesn't require a huge amount of intellect or experience to
Yes.
execute the work. It's just
Mhm.
about making sure you read what is coming on your
Right.
device and see, okay, if somebody's saying check the color, check the brand, check the make, etc., your at least those first basic checks can happen. That is like with 1 or 2 rounds of training, people are able to do it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting insight in the sense because you deal with a very different set of people. You have internal employees, and then you have a lot of partners, but you still have to work with them to be on the road. So you need to design solutions where it's simple, it's very intuitive, and you have to have a certain level of ease of use so that you can ensure people across the board are able to use that. So, in terms of, thinking of these kind of solutions and all, is there an internal center of excellence in terms of innovation? And if you would tell me a little bit more about, the composition and, what kind of qualities are required to run a successful center of excellence?
So
for
the way we have a construct is we have a team which focuses on operational excellence,
Yes.
customer-centric experiences. So there is a team which runs projects,
Yes.
but it works extremely closely with the customer services function and the IT function,
I see.
because a whole lot of your inputs to this particular organization comes from these two functions.
Yes.
Sales, of course, you always have the voice of customer, which is shared with us or with the innovations team or the products development team.
Mhm.
What happens is whenever something comes up, we sit together and we try and identify where exactly do you find a solution for this. Is
Yes.
it purely part of operations? Is it part of communications, of how you communicate with your consignee, how you communicate with your customer? We try and identify that particular area. And
Mhm.
then based on what area to be worked on, we either bring in a process person or a technology person or a products person to work on this. And then the team is formed.
Right.
From that team, then the work starts.
Right.
But that's how we are kind of structured in terms of process excellence, innovations, bringing in new products, etc. It's working for us, and I see a whole lot of things already in the pipeline. So I'm sure you'll keep hearing from us in that space over the next few months as we keep rolling out and launching new stuff out there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that because, you are people on the ground doing things, and innovation there is literally targeted at solving solutions, problems. So do you feel, in a center of excellence, there is the possibility of a role of a person who's only focused on understanding and gathering requirements, could be somebody from could be somebody from a business background or a technical background, but requirement gathering within a business setup is, I think, going to be a very crucial role in here for
Yes.
spur innovation.
Absolutely. So, like I said, say for example, you get a shipment from Blue Dart.
Yes.
Right? After you receive a shipment, there is a feedback which is asked for.
Yes.
So we look at these feedbacks also, which keep coming back from customers.
Mhm.
We also engage with our shippers at regular intervals to understand,
Yes.
what part of the service they are happy with, what it is that they're not very happy with. Is there something which is they're really unhappy about?
Yeah.
So there is a team who collects this information.
Mhm.
It is all what this team also does is it looks at what is also happening in the market in terms of anything new being done, etc. Which is purely from a non-technical standpoint. This is purely to understand what is the gap between what we believe we are offering, what we believe is a happy place to be versus the voice of the customer. These gaps are picked up. These gaps are picked up by these people. They try and then reach out to those customers to really understand. Let's say, for example, you have given a feedback saying you are not very happy with let's say the pickup process. Yes. You have registered for a pickup, you're not really happy with the pickup process. The person reaches out to you, they try to understand what part of the process was not working well for you, whether it was about connecting to somebody, whether it was about using your mobile app and trying to book a shipment. Did you go to the website? and you're not happy with what you saw on the website, etc., etc. So we try and identify those areas which were the ones which left you as an unhappy customer. And we reach out to all those customers who has given us feedback, which is not in the positive frame,
Right.
or maybe the mediums,
Right.
and then just put it together and then say, okay, these are the set of information that has been collated in understanding what is the gap.
Yes.
Then this comes to the team. Then the customer-centric team picks it up. And like I said, you have CS there, you have IT there, you have operations there. We
Yes.
try and understand, we kind of peel the onion, we try to break that problem down and to understand which is that, what is the why? The
Yes.
exact why there, which is an issue. And then work on trying to build a solution. And that's how, the person who is really connecting with the customer, trying to define that problem, that person really needs to know the business. And that's the kind of people who have been put in place, who have worked with Blue Dart, who have been in the system for a while, who really understand Express Cargo as a business. So they know exactly what to ask the customer. Otherwise,
Right.
that can be another harrowing experience for the customer.
Yes.
So asking customer the right questions, getting the feedback the right way, putting it down. And then all this comes to a point where the real problem has to be defined. I think that is the
Right.
core part of it. And we do
Yes.
spend quite a bit of time in trying to define the exact problem.
Right.
Because we also believe that if you really define the problem right, 50%
Exactly.
of the way problem is solved.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
solution
that's the way
lies
it
in
works.
defining the problem, right?
Yeah.
Actually, right, asking the right questions is a very important thing, and that therein lies, your understanding and insights. So good to know about that. So one last question that I'm very curious about is, you have access to so much information. You are API integrated with so many of your partners. So, what kind of security challenges, cybersecurity challenges you face, and how are you tackling it at, a strategic level and at a tactical level?
So one, we follow the DPDHL global guidelines in terms of
Right.
cybersecurity, which are typically based on the ISO 27001, which is the kind of gold standards for now.
Yes.
Globally.
Yes.
So that is something which we follow in terms of setting up the whole cybersecurity, what do I call it? Principles.
Framework.
Right.
Yeah.
Globally, we have a huge team which works 24/7, monitoring every possible interaction on any web-based applications, devices. There are tools which are deployed to understand what is happening with each device in the network. There are also people within the countries who are tasked with doing this work in a 24/7 manner. This being said, we have also set up the cybersecurity teams in every organization. Like, for example, when I say organization, I'm talking about the whole DPDHL world.
Yes.
So when we talk Blue Dart, so we have a CISO, we have a big team under the CISO, which looks at multiple levels of security elements, whether it has to do with application development, whether it has to do with system design, whether it has to be rollout of any new tech initiatives. It has to go through this team to make sure that it is good enough to go into production.
Right.
You typically tend to have things done, historically it was like, and it's not just about us, but the tech world believed that, there are some tests like VAPT and, source code scanning, etc., which you do at maybe once a year and you're good to go. Now it's not like that. We do this at extremely frequent intervals. Your critical web-based applications are done at very high frequency, because now you have all kinds of automated tools. Previously, this was done manually. Now it is not. As the tools evolve, your frequency of monitoring has gone up significantly in terms of doing these tests. You then also engage with organizations like BitSight, etc., who regularly do it at a global level, also drill it down to local country level, organization level. They share reports to say, in terms of benchmark, where do you stand in terms of global in terms of, say, logistics as an industry, in terms of DPDHL, in terms of India as a country. So you get various cuts to really understand where do you stand in terms of being safe in the
Yeah.
cyber world
Mhm.
by a third party who does a neutral audit for all.
Perfect.
Over and above this, we also conduct regular internal audits at different locations, which include data-related checks, which include, understanding of that employee in terms of, simple things like phishing, passwords.
Right.
We do campaigns.
Mhm.
We run it like a 21-day campaign. So
Right.
every day you get to learn a new thing about cybersecurity.
Mhm.
Then we come back and we do a test. So you would really not know that there is a test running at the back end. We just want to see what's your response. If you get a particular kind of a mail, what is your response? We just capture those responses to understand what kind of awareness is there in the organization.
Right.
Then we go back to those people who have really responded to some of those mails.
Mhm.
We go back to them one-to-one basis and we
Right.
talk to them, we share information with them, we train them to, make them aware.
Yeah.
And this is done at regular intervals because, if you really keep the gap too much, people tend to forget.
Right.
So
And
there
it's-
are, and-
employees are the first gatekeepers of
yeah,
security.
I mean, you might really create a wonderful moat around
Yeah.
your data center and access, but
Mhm.
end of the day, there is this internal risk,
Exactly.
human risk, which will always be there. And
Mhm.
they being aware is a big key element to make sure that you're safe.
Exactly. So right at the beginning of the conversation, you mentioned, you had a private cloud, multiple data centers, and obviously some of the workloads are on the public cloud. So, could you mention or, uh, tell us some of your experiences in terms of managing, multi-cloud complexities operationally and from a security point of view?
I think from a security point of view, what happens is we just make sure that whatever we have deployed as part of our security standards while we roll out applications internally, we make sure that the vendor follows the same for what is available outside.
Mhm.
One. Second, we also conduct regular audits of the
Mhm.
vendor's place, where they have hosted us, how they have hosted us, what is happening, etc., to make sure they are following the guidelines which are there given to us. What we have also seen is most of the organizations typically tend to have a lot of common ones. There could be very few ones which are separate. So most of the service providers are also pretty okay doing it, these audits. There are also those standard audits which are done. Previously, they used to be called ISAE audits, which are done on data centers, which give these kind of services, which is also again modeled very largely on the 27001 to kind of controls. So what is working there and what is not working there. One, the controls with the applications in terms of access control, etc., is based on what we have asked for. So that's something which we govern, we control. But from a source code scanning, etc., we do that at regular intervals. We share the information back to them, saying the critical, if there are observations, critical, high, medium, low, they are given deadlines within which they are supposed to fix it and come back to us. So we work on that aspect very closely with the service providers. What I have seen is over a period of years, these service providers have also evolved a lot in terms of understanding what it means to run a private cloud or sharing security aspects about a public cloud with the vendors, because this point about data and data protection is something which is just getting into those places where the regulatory impact, the reputation impact, everything about the customer that you're serving is all dependent on how safe your data is.
Yes.
This maturity on the service provider side is also a good thing for organizations, because then it makes a good case for being able to share your load onto the public cloud. Say, for example, like we spoke right in the beginning about your ERP is largely still being on-prem.
Yes.
But like the cloud ready architecture that I spoke of. Now let's take case where there is a huge spurt in demand, which we see as a, let's say, a 2-month thing or a 1-month thing. So then it becomes easier for me if I know that this service provider can give me all these
Controls.
facilities with
Mhm.
all things about security guaranteed.
Mhm.
Makes my life easier to move this there for that 1 month, take that service, maybe 2 months, and then bring it back on-prem once the volumes, the seasonal volumes are back to normal.
Right. So, like, when you say you had made them cloud ready, have you also used containers? I mean, because you're saying moving
Absolutely.
environments.
Absolutely. See, the microservices environment, we initially started off going with the Kubernetes model, which was pretty famous a couple of years ago. Still
Right.
now, but the OpenShift license model is now far more secure, and it gives us all those features which Kubernetes does. So
Right.
we then decided to move on from Kubernetes to the OpenShift secure
Right.
licensed model.
Mhm.
But obviously, yes, it's the same containers, Dockers.
Mhm. Yeah.
The architecture remains that.
Mhm.
The
As well, what you have defined is a very interesting model. Normally people talk about, having a cloud environment and having auto scaling, but here you're saying when you have, a surge in volumes, you're going to actually port some of your applications, part of your applications onto the cloud while you retain the bulk of it on-prem, and bring back your applications to the traditional environment when that surge comes down. So that's a very interesting, solution approach that you are talking about. It's a different one. So another thing I wanted to check, in terms of operational ease of managing your operations, do you have a central management platform that gives you visibility across different environments?
Yes, it does. So like I said, the way, if I talk about the ops piece, one is the
Yes.
whole system is a centralized system.
I see.
And that is also the reason why we could build the whole digital twin of our network,
Right.
the whole shipment journey being mapped digitally on a control tower.
Mhm.
As we have all this at a central level, of course,
Yes.
as you go down the hierarchy in terms of locations, hubs, warehouses, reaching the service centers, etc., the access to certain processes, etc., are restricted based on what you need to have. But if you look at visibility in terms of control tower to understand what shipments are hitting me,
Right.
you can also go back and see that, okay, this hub was supposed to send me this shipment. The shipment was supposed to move out from there at 8 o'clock and reach me at 9 o'clock. It's 8:30, I don't see any movement.
Yeah.
You have the ability to see that. You can actually pick up your phone, call the guy behind and say, hey, what's the delay? Because if you are delayed, I am delayed. If I am delayed,
Right.
the shipment is delayed to reach the consignee. So we have created that kind of an environment which gives you this visibility.
Mhm, mhm.
One, this comes purely from an operational standpoint. Now, if you
Yes.
look at a tech standpoint, we have a command center central
Mhm.
in which you can actually figure out what is happening across the country from an IT systems standpoint. You know
I
which
see.
networks are running, which devices are up and running. Is there any fluctuation you see in any kind of connectivity? Those kind of things to make sure that in case you are expecting something to go down, your backup from a connectivity or a systems point is made ready. So you have the central team which keeps an eye on this. It's like the command center which we have for our network, where
Yes.
the person sitting in the head office knows exactly where which truck is, which shipment is in which truck, where is it stuck, is it going to get delayed, etc., etc. So with these different command centers based on what part of the operations they are looking at, is it technology, is it network, is it systems, is it trucks on the road, is it shipments out there, everything is covered.
Right, right. Okay. I go on saying last question, but this really is the last. Okay. Now, your views on generative AI and how do you think it's going to impact the logistics sector?
That's the hottest topic right now on the market. Okay, generative AI.
Yeah.
I think that's if you really understand what's happened in that field for the last 3-4 years, right from that OpenAI is first thing happening about 5-6 years ago. I think
Yes.
it's a pretty interesting space to be in.
Yeah.
If you are a researcher, amazing place to be in. But as
Yes.
an organization, I think one needs to really understand what am I looking for,
Yes.
because as an organization, as a business, you tend to bring things down to a place where you can really understand what the issue is, what the problem is, and then try and see it. If you do not have an ROI, it's going to be a difficult, it's like catching your own tail. You will go around in circles. You'll never end up coming anywhere. So one of the key elements which I believe is you really need to sit down and understand what is it that you're trying to solve, and then say, can a generative AI solve it for me? Yeah. So it could be forecasting. Now today, forecasting models which we have built, again, these are all machine learning based, but it has taken its own time to evolve, right? The generative AI, because of the kind of learning it has had on huge amount of data, it would be able to throw out something much faster than what I can do. So I've got speed, I've got maybe far more accuracy, etc. But if I have to share this data to that API, what does it really mean for me in terms of having made sure that that data is secure? I think that is one of the biggest challenges right now. Second, there are areas where organizations can start looking at it, especially, understanding what the market scenarios, being able to create, let's say a generative AI for video. Let's just put it quickly. And this just comes to mind because right in the beginning, Sanjay asked me about rains outside. So when it is raining, you see the most difficult part of the business work is for the delivery person who is out there on the street, the bikers. Irrespective of whether it is Blue Dart, whether it is a Swiggy, Zomato, the people who do delivery. It is also a high risk time for most of the sales guys out there in the field, irrespective of whichever business or brands you belong to, right? Bulk of the sales guys move around on bikes. Now, can a generative AI video creator quickly create a video which will be able to talk about safety and other those elements for all these bikers? A quick turnaround. Otherwise, if I have to go and work with a professional setup, it is going to take me nothing less than a month. So can I generative AI create this for me? I think the answer is yes. It's about how you tweak it, how you make it better. Second, can it help scale? Yes, it can. Can it help publish? Yes, it can. Which means something which used to take 2 months can happen in 24 hours. And those programs can reach out to each and every one of those drivers out there on the street to say, how can you make sure these 5 checks about your bike, these 5 checks that you do when you drive, etc., will keep you safe. This is about human lives. Can keep you safe. These are your people. These are your brand ambassadors out there on the street. And you want these people. I mean, you have to make sure that you take care of your people. But can generative AI help? I think it can. So if we can use some things like this to go out and reach people really fast, I think it's an amazing technology to have.
Right. So again,
it's like where you use it.
Yeah, basically identifying and using it imaginatively.
Yes.
Therein, I think, is where the human element comes to always, think of a challenge as a creative opportunity to solve it, whether it's an identifying in requirement gathering or whether it's using an emerging technology like generative AI. Wonderful insights, and thank you so much. Very nice talking to an industry practitioner about a technology application. It really makes you think and connect the dots and get a better understanding of how technology can be better utilized. Thank you so much, Manoj. Have a great day. Look forward to taking the conversation forward. We'll keep talking. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Pretty interesting conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.